Hi guys, welcome to the Laguna Shirt sew along video. This is a tropical research sewing pattern and you can find it in my shop. Anyway guys, let's dive straight in. Let's iron the fabric. And I'm using my sample pattern in this make. If you buy the pattern in my shop, it comes in multiple sizes from XXS to 4XL. This is also a shirt make and I want to introduce you guys to interfacing. So interfacing is a fabric with little glue dots on it. It's also called a fusible interfacing because it fuses to your main fabric with the iron. And when we heat it up, kind of the glue melts and it all fuses together. Like this, we can reinforce our fabric, make it stronger, and it will also not stretch out in weird ways. This is very helpful for our facings and also for the top collar. The top collar is the one that we will see, and with a little bit of interfacing, it looks much crisper and much better. There are two different ways to interface your fabric. You can either interface a big piece of your main fabric and then cut everything already interfaced, or you cut separately the interfacing and the fabric and then you sort of iron them together. But this is always a little bit risky, so I recommend you guys to do the first method. Like this, you get really nice and perfect pieces. So now I'm tracing the front facing left and right directly to my fabric, and I'm actually doing it with a pencil so it gets really nice and perfect. And there are also little notches, so make sure you get those as well. The other very important piece that needs interfacing there is the collar. I already mentioned it, and it's just one of them. It is the top collar. And there I'm also preparing a little bit of bias tape, which will become interesting soon. There, and now I'm marking my chest pocket, and there's the sleeve, and let's start with the chest pocket. So what I've been doing lately is folding the fabric over the paper, and this gives me really crisp and clean edges for pockets, and I really love it. So what I'm doing is I'm pre-folding it into the final shape, and now I'm kind of putting the fabric over it, and then step by step I'm folding the fabric with the help of the paper, pressing it in between, and with a little bit of spray starch I'm also somewhat making it sticky so it just stays in shape. All done. So first things first, for pockets is always the top edge. So let's do that one with a quick edge stitch from the wrong side of the pocket. Don't forget to reverse the beginning and the end. And now we have our pocket. We can place it on the front, fix it with a couple of pins, and in my case the pocket goes on the left side. Left is where the heart is. I like to make the little triangle, so I've just marked the kind of beginning, and let's start from the stitches on the top, go to my little mark there, which is maybe half a cm from the edge, and now 1, 2, 3 stitches usually back to the edge, and then I want to edge stitch all the way around and do pretty much the same thing once I arrive at the other side. I'm using a special edge stitching footer on my industrial machine, which makes this very easy because it guides the presser foot along the edge there. So now we come to the end, and again all the way up there, 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then diagonally back down to the stitches of the top hem. So once this is done, we can take care of the shoulder seams, and I'm gonna make them French. So first things first, wrong sides together, and then we sew with 1/4 inch 0.6 cm seam allowance, both sides. And then once this is done, we can finger press them open, flip them around, and sew them again with 1 cm with the right sides facing them. Stitch it again, 1 cm seam allowance. This is a 3/8 of an inch. Oops, thread. And that's that. So, French seams for the shoulders. Don't pull too hard. We want to kind of keep our neckline intact. So I'm finger pressing this as well. And I want to make sure that the seam allowances are actually facing the back. They're kind of like towards the back. If you want, you can actually top stitch and make the shoulder seam stronger. So next thing, the collar. We want to attach the two collar pieces, the top and the sides. The bottom with all the notches is not going to get stitched. Keep that open. So pin it well, make sure everything kind of aligns nicely. I have stripes, so the stripes really help to kind of keep it all straight. And then 1 cm seam allowance. If you want, you can mark the points there from the corners, because this is kind of like the tricky bit. So otherwise use the guide on your sewing machine to kind of like try until you get exactly the same seam allowance, so your point is nice and clean. Pivot, and there we go. So the bottom stays open. Now what we want to do is trim the corners. Iron a bit first, trim the corners off like this. You can also cut the seam allowance kind of shorter there, otherwise it becomes really hard to flip it and turn it. And now I want to press it a little bit and then carefully and slowly turn it outside out. So inside out. Now there's our front facing and there's our back neck facing. So let's stitch them together too. Those are also interfaced pieces, and actually the interfacing somewhat cleans up the raw edges, so I'm not going to do anything extra, and I'm also just sewing them with a regular open seam, 1.5 cm seam allowance in this case, and that's it. If you want, you can overlock, but I like to keep it flat. I don't want to have the extra volume bulking up. So let's open those seams. Press, nice and flat. So as I said, the interfacing itself usually keeps the edges from fraying. It's not the most beautiful, but it's a kind of safe finish. So the neckline. At this point, so I'm also notching the center back there. You can also have a stay stitch all around the neckline if you worry that it will stretch out. So make sure all the notches are there, and then if you have the notches, it's just a game of sandwiching the collar between the facing and the body part, notch by notch. And then also there, center front, pin it together. The facing is a little bit shorter than the body, so you will see it doesn't end up on the same level because we want to fold the body later over the facing. So, and now let's stitch this with the machine. I'm also not going to do any extra finish there. This is going to be basically on the inside of everything, so fraying, etc. will be prohibited by the interfacing on the facing itself, and the other one, it can fray a little bit. It's okay, it's not going to fall apart. There's also going to be buttonholes and the buttons that will sandwich it together, so we can just leave the edge as is. Nobody's ever going to get to it. So now comes a bit like the tricky part, so you want to take it slow, make sure that nothing is kind of bulking up or something slipped under and suddenly like stitched a piece of something else into it. So make sure it's all clean, and then slowly but surely keep it flat and stitch your way from notch to notch. So don't be confused, in my sample I actually made everything with 1/2 inch seam allowance, but for the official pattern I've made the seam allowances a bit more as they should be, so don't be confused if you look at my marker there. Here you can see very well how the facing is shorter. We want to trim the points, otherwise we won't be able to flip them. What I'm also doing is cutting little pizza slices out of the entire neckline so that turning inside out will be much easier and there is not like the seam allowance bulking up on each other. It keeps this very light and flat and makes it easy to flip it. So this is something you can always do. So now let's press it. First by hand and then also with the iron, because now it's interfaced so it doesn't act like real linen anymore. So we have to really give it some heat too. And now let's finish our neckline. We want to actually bias bind the entire raw edge of the facing now. You can also overlock it or try to flip it in, but I think bias binding is like absolutely gorgeous. So first we want to stitch it with 1 cm seam allowance and then we flip it around, tuck it in, and then we can stitch it again with an edge stitch place. So this is not a bias facing, this is a bias binding, so we see the bias tape. It's also how I finish the quilted cozy coat, for example. So this looks all gorgeous and neat, and now we want to stitch the half moon, the back down. I'm gonna pin it real nice and flat, and then just a simple top stitch. Make sure your bobbin thread tension is nice and looking good, because we will actually see the under stitches for this one, like the bobbin thread. So that's already done. Next on the list, and this is a really quick make, guys, so we're almost done, right? So next up, the sleeves. So there is a left and there is a right, so make sure you find the notches and you match them nicely. There are plenty of notches to make kind of setting the sleeves in as easy as possible. So this is going to be a sew and serge finish, and we're just matching the sleeve to the armhole, right sides facing. So a French seam is also totally possible, but I wanted to keep this summer make easy and quick, and also I want to keep the seams short. So pin it in place, notch by notch. Pinning is literally half of the work. If you do this well, the results will be much better. So first we stitch it with the seam allowance that is mentioned in the tutorial and also on the pattern actually. Make sure you always move it so nothing gets kind of bulked up, like nothing gets stitched into the sleeve that shouldn't be there. Happens to me all the time. I kind of like accidentally stitch a pleat in there or something. Very annoying. So, and now let's bring that whole party over to the overlock. Hi there, wearing my most favorite Batman t-shirt ever actually. Also on the left you can see my kind of mood board that I've been working with for like the last month. So this was actually my lunch. Anyway guys, back to overlocking. What I'm doing here is overlocking armhole seam together, both seam allowances, just one big piece, it's fine, it's easy, and it keeps it very flat. And now we can overlock the side seams. Which is actually 4 side seams. 2 on the front, 2 on the back. So that's a bit of a job. Let's do that now. And voila, here we're back in the room. Let's clean it up a little bit, and then we can pin the side seams together. Make sure you have the notch. There's the slit, and the front panels are a little bit shorter than the back panel, so use the notch to find the proper point there. Also, the armhole is a good point to match, and then a few more pins. So let's sew it together, 1.5 cm, and of course the right sides are facing in this case. Now it's just a simple open seam. So all the way to the notch, and then reverse well, and then the other side one more time. So let's press it a little bit. Sew and serge is never the most beautiful finish, but in this case it gives us a better look and feel under the arm. It doesn't bulk up too much and it keeps it all a little bit like flat. So next thing, let's do that slit. First things first, I want to give it a good old snip on top, like kind of like above the notch there. At least halfway through. And then we want to double fold this. So it's 1.5 cm seam allowance, so we can do kind of 0.75, 0.75. You get a sort of smallish rolled hem there. If you don't like this kind of finish, you can also just cover it all with a nice tape or something. So 0.75, 0.75, and throw a couple of pins. And if you want, you can also create a little triangle there at the top where the cut is. Another option would be to zigzag stitch a little bar tag. So I will edge stitch this from the wrong side. This one, keep it easy, I just go kind of straight on the top. In my long sleeve version, I made a little triangle, like the roof of a house. So the back is actually 7 centimeters longer, which is a little bit less than 3 inches. If you don't like that, it's also super easy to just even it out. By the way, guys, if you like this video, please comment, please like, obviously, and subscribe to my channel. So a quick press, and then we can do all the hemming. If I want to be really like kind of safe and not sorry, I like to draw with a pencil. And just the line itself kind of makes a little indentation into the linen, and it becomes much easier to fold it. So, easy double folded hem there. I like it that way. It's simple, it's clean, it's minimalist. And fix it with a few pins, and then let's do the front as well. And now this time, so the hem folds over the facing to make that kind of clean. Press it, pin it, and then we can bring it over to our machine. Edge stitch from the wrong side. Take it easy, don't fall off the edge. Quick press. So with the sleeves, I'm kind of going freestyle. Just double fold it like this. You could pin it if you want, but I feel for these small like hems, it's much easier just to go like this. And then fold it as you go. And once you come back to the end, like it just pulls itself in place. But it needs a bit of practice. Like I really recommend to kind of like practice that. Time to try before I make buttonholes. It's always so important to try. So the button and buttonhole positions already on the pattern, but you might want to kind of make the real buttonhole shape according to the size of your buttons. And I always have my little 1 cm buttons, so the buttonholes are usually 1.2 or 5 cm. And now I actually have the proper presser foot for this, but I used to make my buttonholes like this. So there is the automatic program on my Bernina, and it makes the left now first, the left kind of bar tag. then you always have to press this button, like the reverse button. It goes over, make the top, then the right side, and then finish with the bottom. Actually, I also make mine usually upside down. What you don't see, what I had to edit out, is I messed up like so many buttonholes on this shirt. It was such a pain. I had to kind of pick them all out. So I really hope the new presser foot will make that easier. I'm always so worried. It's very scary to make buttonholes. So there's actually like the minimum amount of buttonholes on this shirt, so we want to keep it easy and light. So quick, hop, let's do them all. Spin that up. Yes! Yeah, so for boys, the buttonholes should be on the left, and for girls, on the right. Now, I'm cutting them open with my seam ripper, or like my little snip. And now let's put buttons. So I lost kind of the marking, so just using the buttonholes to kind of check. I was doing them by hand until then, but now I also do it with the machine, and I also have a special presser foot for that with a little rubber thingy. But if you want to know how to stitch buttons with your machine and with just your regular presser foot, you can check out my Instagram because I made a reel about it, and it's really fun. It's really brilliant. It's so good. Because this takes forever. And some people commented on IG that, oh, if I do them by hand, they're so much better. I'm telling you guys, if I do them by hand, they will fall off after like 2 months. They're much better now since I make them with the machine. So here I am. I love this. This is just like pure holiday in a little shirt. So in the tutorial, and I'm wearing white lazy pants, guys. This is a single gauze cotton, I think. So it's not double gauze, but it's like over twisted, like kind of baby cotton. It's so nice. And this shirt is a super light linen, and I have a few brilliant hacks in the tutorial, like how to turn it into a little dress, for example. But also, there's the long sleeve pattern in the pattern set included, which is also very nice. And I'm quite sure it will also make a very cool jacket. So I think I will make a jacket soon. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave a comment, please like the video, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. And also share this video with your sewing friends. Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye.